Ready.
All right, take two. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the April meeting of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that the board meeting is being live streamed, and according to our clock in the back of the room, it is about 5 minutes ahead of the 10 a.m. Start time. Unfortunately, due to inclement weather, we have a difficult time getting quorum. So today we do have a quorum at the moment. We're going to go ahead and adjourn and gavel the meeting in. Begin our work and try to get through that work in time such that people can get back to homes safely. So with that, I will turn to Chair Mount.
Right. I'd like to call a meeting to order and ask Supervisor Murphy if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to ask Ms. Poole if she'll establish a quorum for us.
Yes, ma'am. Happy to do so. Chair Mount
Present.
is present. Supervisor Jackson is absent. Supervisor Burke is absent. Supervisor Bradford is absent. Supervisor Butler McIntyre
Here.
is present. Supervisor Hollins is absent. Supervisor Johnson is present. Supervisor Lee
Present.
is present. Supervisor McConduit is absent. Supervisor Murphy is present. Supervisor Price is absent. Supervisor Salath is present. Supervisor Smith is absent. Supervisor Toops is absent. Supervisor Wood
Here.
is present. Supervisor Payne is present. Supervisor Zarang is present. Madam Chair, we do have a quorum of 9 established.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Poole. Has there been any requests for public comment related to one of the enumerated agenda items on today's meeting agenda?
No, ma'am, we do not have public comments.
This is a reminder that public comment must be related to a specific agenda item. Next on the agenda is approval of our minutes, meeting agenda for April the 10th, 2024.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Zarang, seconded by Supervisor Murphy.
Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. And next, we need a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes for February the 7th, 2024.
Motion by Supervisor Butler McIntyre, seconded by Supervisor Zarang.
Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. We need a motion to approve the February 7th no, we've already done that. Let's see. All right, recommendations.
Recommendation.
Okay.
Staff recommends that the board approve the consent agenda, which consists of agenda items F1 through F7. I want to call out in particular the great work that has been done by the colleges as well as staff to bring to you a consent agenda that is extensive. I want to point out in particular, item F1 is the LCTCS level non-credit programs. I've asked staff to begin to list, enumerate those programs so that you can see the kinds of non-credit programming that is being developed. A bit further here, we also would point out the changes that are taking place at places like Louisiana Delta, where you see additions, deletions, as well as program modifications. So I just simply want to point out the great work that is going on. Take a look at River Parishes as well. Lots of changes going on there. Sewella. This is an example that our colleges are not static. What we teach changes on a regular basis, and how we package that material changes on a regular basis. I think this consent agenda works well to allow our colleges to be able to move forward. So you have heard the recommendation.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion by Supervisor Zarang, seconded by Supervisor Salath.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion passes. We would like now to recognize our 23-24 student board members as their term ends on May 31st. Supervisor Payne and Zarang have been very active members of the board for this year's term and have represented this board and our system well while serving as leaders of their respective colleges. We wish them well in their future endeavors. And now we'd like to
Sure. Would you like to read the items on the, or the
All right.
inscription in the plaque?
Yes, I'm sorry. So the plaque we're going to present to them in a moment states, the Board of Supervisors of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System wish to recognize and thank David Payne and Jamie Zerang for your service as the Community College Student Representative, Technical College Student Representative to the LCTC Board of Supervisors for 2024. Great, great group. We're gonna miss y'all.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Elaine.
And again, I just want to say how much we have appreciated both of you and your leadership and your enthusiasm and your commitment to a wonderful system that you've made more wonderful. So we look forward to seeing you progress and we hope we hear from you.
Maybe, could we ask that maybe our student board members make a few comments? And I know you didn't come with prepared remarks, but we'll put you on the spot for a second, and maybe we'll begin with you, Jamie.
Just pull that mic down to your, there you go.
I just want to say that I'm very thankful and proud for everything that I've been able to do and accomplish through being on the board and working with you. So thank you guys for accepting me and letting me help my community and state.
Very good. David?
Well, I want to say, like Jamie, just being proud to be a part of this board is just it was a great experience, and I'm really gonna miss it. And just thank y'all for all the support and doing anything that I can to support our colleges.
You're going to be the commencement speaker. And he's going to be the commencement speaker.
Yes, that's exactly right. Can't wait to hear remarks, and I know that David, you'll have an opportunity to connect with Chandler at some point today to help write out those remarks, right? Very good.
For the record, Dr. Sullivan, Chairman, I would like to acknowledge Supervisor Hollins as present.
Welcome, sir.
All right. At your station, there are a list of commencements for all of the colleges. I encourage you to attend if you're able to, and please let Erica know if you plan to attend any of these events. The 2022-2024 board leadership comes to the end of their service. The governance committee is tasked with nominating the 2024 to the 2026 board leadership for the Board of Supervisor bylaws. As such, I've spoken with Supervisor Paul Price, who's the chair of the governance committee, who will handle this duty and will bring the recommended nominations from the governance committee to the board at the June meeting. And
All right.
Dr.
Thank you,
Sullivan?
Madam Chair. And today's president's report will be abbreviated. We have a number of items that we would like to have brought to you this morning, but given the weather circumstance, we'll delay those until our next meeting. I did want to mention to you some items that are ongoing at the legislature. Very positive discussions ongoing today around HB 940, which would provide $1.7 billion with a B to higher education, specifically to our colleges, about $250 million, specifically for deferred maintenance issues. I want you to imagine, for those of you who have been to some of our facilities and have seen some of the challenges that we're dealing with, just this morning, as an example, at the Shreveport campus, the issues that we have there on the campus are resulting in flooding, and we have to address those. This deferred maintenance bill has about $8 million for that campus in this bill. That gives you an idea of what we will be able to do over these next few years. One of the things I want this board to know is the results of the work of the LCTCS Facilities Corporation and the positive delivery that we've been able to have. The Speaker, the President of the Senate have both indicated to us that they expect us to lead the pack. I want you to think of that. This bill was written specifically behind the concept of LCTCS Facilities Corporation. Their expectation is that we're going to deliver. And so I point that out to the board to make sure that you know you have done great work as a board and specifically with that LCTCS Facilities Corporation. So given that exciting times there is also a good opportunity for us to see our workforce funding formula included in HB1. You can expect that those dollars will be requested not within the higher education budget, but within the budget of the Louisiana Workforce Commission. So that changes the dynamics significantly from what we have dealt with in the past in terms of funding for higher education. The last item I want to mention to you is not one that is legislative, but on the state level, I do want to mention that you have all been aware of some of the discussion that has been ongoing publicly since the basketball game, including LSU and Iowa. I just simply want to make sure that we have been clear as an organization that we honor the flag, just as we did when we started this meeting. And that didn't happen because of an issue at a basketball game. That happened because that's what we believe. That's who we are as an organization. And so while there are challenges for some around the athletics issue, I think at this point where we intend to go is certainly we will review our policies, just as we should. But I believe that what we are looking at here is an opportunity for us to express what's important to us as an organization. And what I can assure you is we will review those policies. We will continue to focus on uniting under one flag, but certainly it didn't begin with an issue on social media. That's about all that I should say on that subject. But I want to make sure that this board is fully aware and supportive of the notion that what we have done historically has been the right thing, and we will continue to do the right thing. So, Madam Chair, with that, there is one federal update that I've missed yesterday. Great news, the WIOA bill, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, was passed on the House floor with a resounding vote of nearly 400 members passing that WIOA bill. Remember, the major changes that we have been involved in now allow for WIOA will require 50% of the dollars within WIOA to be spent on training. We all know that that number has been single digits in Louisiana for far too long. WIOA dollars need to be spent to train and educate people. The second major point is that this bill, as written, will allow governors 25% flexibility on how they spend that dollar. So 25% is discretionary. You got to believe that the governor is going to be interested in doing some things that are specific to workforce here. But you also have an additional dollar value coming from the state of Louisiana. So as all of these forces come together, federal dollars, state dollars, you can see that our friends at the Louisiana Workforce Commission are going to continue to be one of our best partners in this work. So that's it for the President's report. We will dispense also with the board development segment this morning. And Madam Chair, I will turn back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. I'd like to call on Supervisor Murphy to present the academic action items for consideration by the board.
First item is an accreditation update. Recommendations?
Yes, sir. While Dr. Palermo makes her way to the table, I just want to say this week, our friends at Central Louisiana Technical Community College have a full staff of SACS members on their campuses, multiple campuses, driving from the Mississippi line to the Texas line almost, really covering a lot of territory. Please know this, our team at Central Louisiana Technical Community College is fully engaged. There's no doubt about that. our team at Northwest is fully engaged. This morning, unfortunately, they're dealing with weather issues. So with that, I'm going to turn to Dr. Palermo for a quick update on our accreditation status.
Thank you, President Sullivan, Chair Mount, members of the board. I sit here, I'm going to give two brief reports.
Maybe just push that mic a
Oh,
little
sorry.
closer. Thank you.
I have to use my teacher voice.
There we go.
On behalf of, I'm going to give two reports, one for Central and one for Northwest. The first one, I'll start with Central. As Dr. Sullivan mentioned, they are in full swing of a site visit right now. Just as a reminder, CLTCC was granted candidacy status at the June 2023 SACS Board of Trustees. This week, they are conducting the accreditation visit. This is a 9-member peer review of the college's compliance certification, which includes additional standards that were not included in the first application. A report from this week's SACS COC team visit will be forwarded to SACS Commission, and a vote on accreditation will happen at the June meeting about mid-June of this year. They are thrilled with what they're seeing so far in the visit. We look forward to favorable outcome. But Chancellor Saltel, of course, says that he would like to thank everyone for their extraordinary support, to the Board of Supervisors, Dr. Sullivan, the entire system staff, including Mr. Bill Tulak, which on a phone call yesterday, I said, as soon as the visit's over, please be sure and send Bill Tulak home as fast as you can. Dr. Amy Cable, the late Renee Centron, and many others from the system staff and finance, human resources, facilities, IT, and many more. He would also like to thank Dr. Heather Poole, who is leading the SACS COC charge, as well as the entire CLTCC team for their tireless efforts. So I asked this morning what time to expect the exit meeting to occur tomorrow. It will be about 8:30 in the morning. So hope to have good news after that. The next one, Chancellor Spillers asked that I also share a report and update for their accreditation. They have submitted an updated application and the required fiscal year 2023 audit. They did that back in March. They spoke with Donna Barrett, and they're currently reviewing those audits. And she spoke with Dr. Ann Shard, who is the SACS COC Vice President, and is reviewing the updated application this week. Their goal is to be on the SACS COC June's agenda. I have music playing in the background. The SACS COC staff will schedule a Zoom call the next week or so to discuss the application, which she's so greatly looking forward to. And based on the review, Northwest will decide whether they'll go to the June meeting for a vote. Dr. Spillers also says to extend thank yous to the entire LCTCS staff, especially Bill Tulak, for all of his time and work to assist her to coach them. Also to thank members of the team of CLTCC as they've gone ahead, and Danny Tucker and Jessica Lemoyne. And she would like to personally thank the NLTCC finance team for working tirelessly to complete audits with no findings. And finally, the whole team and faculty and staff that either took ownership or supported those who led efforts to make the deadline and turn in a quality application. And with that, that is my report for CLTCC in Northwest.
Very good. Questions from the board?
Thank you, Dr. Palermo.
Yes, sir.
The next item is for board information, review and advisement revision to LCTCS policy number 2019, athletic program. Thank you.
Am I on? I think so. All right. Good morning, Chair Mount and members of the board. I bring to you, actually, I'm going to be sitting here for the next couple of items. So the first is LCTCS policy 2.019 athletic programs. The current policy sets guidelines for proposing and expanding athletic programs. As a part of that policy, colleges must submit a compliance report every year. The revisions to this policy just clarify the definitions and reporting requirements. So staff recommends that the board accept for review and advisement the revisions to LCTCS policy 2.019 athletic programs. And no action at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I would like to just indicate once more on the athletic policy issue. We are continuing in a discussion with the National Association of Junior College Athletics. And I can tell you that there is great interest in our institutions that are currently participating in athletics to continue. But there is certainly a huge stumbling block ahead of us at this point that is financial in nature, that we are trying to work through with the NJCAA and other affiliates, specifically in the state of Mississippi. And so I particularly hope that we are able to resolve this issue before we move this athletic policy forward. We do anticipate that Mr. Chris Parker from the NJCAA, who's the executive director, we will be working with he and his team over the next few weeks to try to get this issue resolved. The very direct point is that we have begun a process of trying to develop a Louisiana-specific league for athletics. The reason being is that our friends in Mississippi, and I use that word friends loosely here, are trying to require that our colleges who play baseball and basketball travel and only play a conference schedule, which means that if you're at Delgado or Nunez, you're going to travel at some point to Boonville, Mississippi on a Tuesday night. And students are going to miss class all day on Tuesday and likely all day on Wednesday. We've got to become really clear as to what our goals are. Athletics are important, but they are a small part of who we are as an organization. And if we need to be in a place where we step back from athletics, we certainly are willing to do that if the NJCAA continues on the path that it's on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. No action required on that item. Student referendum from North Shore Technical Community College. Do we have a recommendation on that?
Yes, sir, we do. LCTCS policy 2.005 student organizations authorizes colleges to collect a student organization fee. An affirmative vote of the student body for those fees must be approved by the Board of Supervisors. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Carlson for a little more information.
Good morning, everybody. This is kind of a twofold scenario here at North Shore for us. When I became the chancellor last fall, it came very clear to me that our SGA has a unusual setup compared to other colleges. Typically, you have one SGA that represents the entire college. Our SGA, because of the way we became a community college, being different colleges from the Louisiana Technical College system, and then later on becoming the community college, has 5 separate SGAs represented each campus. So what we would like to do is convert that 5 separate SGA setup to one college-wide SGA. And with that, we also would like for the students to be able to implement a student activities fee to help offset the extremely high costs of participating in Skills USA at the state and national level and graduation. Because currently the way it's set up, all of our SGA dollars primarily go to those 2 areas, and we can't really do much with our SGA funds. So my suggestion was that we consolidate our SGA to one representative body, which would have representation from each of our campus locations. However, the additional fee will allow us to give the students the freedom to use the SGA dollars for what they want it to be for. So that's primarily what the intent of this whole change is. And we have the full support of SGA's executive body, as well as our executive president, Brianna Vinay, who was supposed to be here this morning, but she's from Mount Herman, and she called me early and she was very concerned about driving. So I told her to stay safe, and I'm representing on her behalf.
I have a question. How are the total fee assessment? How will it compare to the sister institutions in our system? How does as far as the total fees are concerned?
Yeah, so if we implement the new suggested fee of $4 per credit hour, maxing at 12 credit hours, then we will fall at number 5 in the 12 LCTCS system colleges and cost of total costs, which really is about the size of our institution in comparison.
Would be near the average.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any other discussion on the item? Okay, do we have a motion for approval?
I need to let me read the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Staff recommends that the board authorize the North Shore Technical Community College Student Government Association to conduct a referendum to assess a new student activity fee of $4 per credit hour with a cap of 12 credit hours or $48 per semester.
Okay, do we have discussion? Any further discussion on the item? Okay, we need a motion for approval.
We have a motion by Supervisor Payne, seconded by Supervisor Zarang.
Thank you. Okay, we have our last item,
You call for the vote.
ma'am.
You have a motion on the floor, just
Okay.
call for a vote.
Okay.
There's no-
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll need approval of the item. So, do we have a motion for approval?
You have a motion and a second, just call for the vote.
Okay. All right. Is there any objection? Motion's approved. Okay, now, revisions to LCTCS policy number 1.105, work ready youth, high school equivalency. Staff recommendation.
Yes, sir. So this policy sets standards for obtaining a high school equivalency. This was under review and advisement at the last board meeting. And just as a reminder, this policy actually just made some adjustments to age and clarified issues surrounding test taking. So staff recommends that the board approve the attached revisions to LCTCS policy 1.105, work ready you high school equivalency.
Okay, we've heard staff recommendations. Is there any discussion on the item?
I had a question. What was the age change? You said it's updating age.
There is in section 1 of the policy, I think it changes it from 16 to 17. And then the next section, it's changing it from 16 to 17 to 17 to 18. And then it also expands. So currently students they were only taking the HiSET test, and now they can use a combination of both HiSET and GED scores to receive the equivalency.
And what's the rationale behind raising the age?
I'll take that
I'm
one.
sorry.
I wanna- In particular, as we move toward, in this legislative session, as we move toward HB 452, that is just yesterday passed out of House Education, that bill would eliminate TOPS Tech. Effectively, what we're hopeful of is that the legislature would take that population of students and redirect them based on a Paula Davis bill that would lower the age to 17 for our foster promise students. What we did not want to do is a 16-year-old student who's in school. We didn't want to incentivize them finishing the high school diploma by taking a test, getting the foster promise to go to college. We believe those students ought to stay in school. They ought to stay in that formal education environment. If they happen to fall out of the process, we certainly are going to enroll them. The thing that we would not do is allow them to test until 17.
I figured that was it, but just wanted to make sure. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Is there any other discussion? We need a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Is there any objection to the motion for approval?
Would you please reread the recommendation? Thank you.
Staff recommends that the board approve the attached revisions to LCTCS policy 1.105, work ready you high school equivalency.
Mr. Murphy, you can call for a motion.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Okay, motion by Supervisor Holland, seconded by Supervisor Zarang. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the motion? Without objection, the item's approved.
Thank you, Supervisor Murphy. I'd now like to call on Supervisor Salaf to present the facilities action items for consideration by the board.
We only have one item today to cover. Ms. Moore, would you please join us? The item of issue is the servitude and right-of-way agreement from the LCTCS on behalf of the Sewella Technical Community College to Entergy Louisiana LLC and CenterPoint Energy. Mr. Burnett, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a item that we normally bring anytime there's a right-of-way for utilities for any of our buildings, whether they are Act 360, 391, LCTCS facilities buildings. In this case, this is actually a state building being rebuilt by Facility Planning and Control. This is the last structure at Sewella that was damaged by the hurricanes back in 2020. So after all these years, we are finally at a point now where they are about to begin construction. We actually could have done this later, but it's good that we're doing it now to get it out of the way so everybody knows about where the right-of-ways will be. This is 2 right-of-ways, one for Entergy and one for, CenterPoint for gas. Entergy Electrical, CenterPoint for gas. and this will tie into the existing utility infrastructures of this building. This building is slated to begin and will be completed, anticipated December of 2025, just to kind of give you an idea of time frame wise what's going to happen. Consequently, staff recommends that the board authorize the president to execute 2 right-of-way agreements between Entergy Louisiana LLC and the LCTCS and CenterPoint Entergy and the LCTCS on behalf of Sewella Technical Community College for connection of electrical and gas services for the Calcasieu building in the area depicted in the attached illustration, and for the continued maintenance of the utility distribution equipment that will service the building. The legal description and technical drawings illustrating the area to be transferred will be maintained in the Office of the Vice President of Operations.
Okay, you heard the recommendation. Is there any additional information needed, or anybody have any questions of it? It's not too complicated. It's something we need to do to finish.
Yes, sir.
Is it required for him to read it again, or?
No, sir. We would have discussion after a motion. So if we just call for a motion,
Okay,
then we can
that's fine.
proceed if
Okay.
anyone has a question.
I entertain a motion to accept the recommendation as presented.
Motion by Supervisor Zarang and seconded by Supervisor Wood.
Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, then we'll accept the motion. And second, recommendation is accepted and approved. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Salas. I'll present the personnel action items for consideration by the board. Item 6 is pending and potential litigation and settlement authority.
Madam Chair, we have no items for which we need to enter into executive session for pending and potential litigation.
All right, thank you. Item 7, review and advisement, new LCTC policy 6.044, pregnant workers fairness policy.
Yes, ma'am. Before turning over to Gina, our Chief Human Resources Officer, I would mention that this item is not an action item. It's again for review and advisement for acceptance, and then we will act on it at the subsequent board meeting. But I'll turn it over to Gina.
So there are several laws, federal and state, that protect a pregnant worker before and after pregnancy, during pregnancy. And we were finding that it was difficult for the HR offices at the colleges and the employees to understand. So we took all the laws, put it in one policy, and it also tells the HR offices what types of documents they can and cannot ask for, depending on what it is that they're walking the employee through. It also is something we can hand an employee and say, here are all your rights. And then that way it's all in one package and everybody can follow the exact same thing across the system.
Okay.
I'll read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board accept for review and advisement the attached new LCTCS policy 6.044, pregnant workers fairness policy.
All right, so no actions necessary
ma'am.
at this time. Are there any questions or comments? All right, hearing none.
Yes, ma'am. You'll receive it for action at the subsequent meeting.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Please review the updates and encourage all our members to review this information that you see printed there. Is there any additional business to come before the board? Right, hearing none. Ms. Poole, has there been any requests for public comment related to one of the enumerated agenda items on today's meeting agenda?
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment.
All right. Again, this is a reminder that public comment must be related to a specific agenda item. All right. And if you'll look at announcements that you have, the Phi Theta Kappa luncheon is tomorrow, April the 11th from 11 to 2 at Jubin's Restaurant. Please RSVP to Erica Poole if you plan to attend. Please join us for the LCTC Day at the Capitol, and I hope everybody can come. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great day, which will be on April the 22nd from 10 to 2 at the Capitol Rotunda, followed by our 25th, big one, 25th anniversary from 5 to 8 at the Capitol Park Museum. It's going to be a wonderful day and evening, and we really hope to see everyone there. Again, a reminder that your annual Tier 2.1 disclosures are due by May 15th. There will not be a Board of Supervisors meeting in May. Our next meeting will be June the 12th. And with that, I'll request a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Supervisor Zarang, seconded by Supervisor Hollins.
Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. We're adjourned.
I just like to hear this.
Yes.